Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter for the next 20 minutes. Today's topic has to do with the donations module, and it's just going to be a very basic webinar giving you an overview of the donations module. So we're going to be talking about the main functions in the donations module. I'm going to be pointing out some different things that you can do in the software. If you find that you have really specific questions or you need me to go into more detail about something, we're not going to have time to do that during today's topic. Again, it's just an overview for 20 minutes. But head out to our website. If you go to churchwindows.com and go to our support center, there is so much information out there that you can utilize to find more information about that specific topic that you're curious on. So if you're at churchwindows.com, up here under supporting, go to support center. This is a really handy tool. All of this out here is free. So as we come up with new documents or as we have new webinars, they're always going to get uploaded here to this page. A couple things about site navigation that I think is helpful. If you just want to see everything we have on donations, because that's what we're talking about today, down here under categories, simply click donations, excuse me, and then everything in the lower part of the list is going to update and then just show you donations information, okay? Now you can also use a search up here using a keyword and a category search. So if we were to type in givers, we could then choose a category of donations, and then it's specifically only going to show us things about givers that fall under the category of donations. So that's going to be another, excuse me, really helpful way to navigate that part of the site, okay? Now, for today's webinar, I am following the How Do I Start document. So again, on our website, if you go up to Beginning now, go down to How Do I Start. Over here on the left, there's this Getting Started PDF. It's a pretty massive document, which is nice because it gives you a lot of information. But if you come over here to the contents, go down to donations, right here, I'm going to be going over just this donation section of the Getting Started Help document. So I pulled some key points out, but if you're wanting a hard copy or something to print out, this How Do I Start document can be really beneficial for people who are new to the software, whether you just purchased it or they're just starting to work in the database. This is going to be really helpful. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to open up donations. A couple things I want to point out before we get on to specific topics. Right here in the middle, you have some quick links or shortcuts, if you will. So these options down here, these are kind of the most commonly used areas of the donations software. You can also get to all of these shortcuts up here at the top. So across the top here we have donations, and then as you can see there's different options below in the ribbon here. You click on accounts and pledges, your options are going to change, givers, reports, exports, special functions. Help is going to open up the help for the donations module. Then you also have a Windows option here if you need to do some adjustments to how things are fitting on your screen. Okay. But again, all of these shortcuts can also be found up here at the top. So the first thing I want to talk about is going to be your givers or managing your givers. So up here at the top, you do have some options for your givers. Now let's start in the Manage Givers section here. If you are using our membership module, all of the people that you have entered over in membership are going to then carry over here into Manage Givers as a giver in donations. Okay? Everyone you put over in membership has the ability to give a donation, make a pledge. Now, with that being said, you do have little characters that will help you tell who's who within the software. So for example, anybody with a V, that's telling you that they are a membership visitor. So they fall into the visitor category over in the membership module. Anybody with a D, this is a donations giver. So a donations giver is different from a membership individual in that anyone with a D or has this box checked here, these records only exist in the donations side. So if you come up here to givers up at the top, you hit add individual and you go here to donations giver individual. This record is only going to show in the donations side. Okay, now when do you use this? A good example of when to use a donations giver is when you have someone who's making a donation to your church or organization and you know they're not going to be joining the church. Be it they have their own church home, they came for a memorial, you're not sure if you're ever going to see them again, you can enter them as a donations individual. And that's what gives you that D at the end. If you're unsure what they're going to do, you can go ahead and add them as a membership individual, and that will create them as a visitor over in the membership side, which then will carry back over into donations. Okay. Also, you have the option to assign giver numbers. Giver numbers or envelope numbers are optional. Okay, you do not have to use them. A lot of people have gone away from using giver numbers because a lot of people aren't using giving envelopes anymore. So if that's the case, you don't have to use giver numbers anymore. It is optional, but if you want to, you definitely still can. You also have the option to link couples together so they share the same number, like this example of Bill and Donna. If you want couples to give together, meaning they get one donation statement when you go to print that, sharing the same giver number, you can simply do that by checking each individual gives with family. All right, let's move on to manage accounts. So up here at the top under accounts and pledges, or right here in the middle, click on manage accounts. These are going to be the different giving accounts. That's the verbiage we use here, the terminology we use here at Church Windows to define the different funds, okay, or the different categories people want their money to go towards. You're going to have to set this up when you get started in donations, okay? So here, for example, here are all the different giving accounts that we have set up in the past. You also can, it's optional, assign an ID to those different giving accounts. We recommend using IDs. It helps make navigating through all of your giving accounts a little bit easier. But again, it's optional. You don't have to. Then there's some detailed information over here on the right. So specifically about the account you have highlighted on the left. Do you want it to print on the statement? Is it tax deductible? Having any comments? Do people pledge to it? Is there a default pledge frequency? And then, of course, you can make it inactive. So if you find an account no longer needs to be used, you can make it inactive by highlighting it and checking this little box. It will turn it red, and then it will hide that account from popping up on different reports and entering donations. Okay. They also have an accounting links tab here. If you use our accounting module, you have the option to then set up your debit, your credit, and then your optional prepaid credit account here. All right, let's talk about pledges. So if you are a pledging church, you can set up different campaigns from year to year, or they can be multiple years if you need to do a multiple year campaign that people are going to pledge to. So what's their promise, or what are they hoping to give within a specific time frame to a specific giving account? So once you set up your giving accounts, you'll choose which one people are going to pledge to. You'll input the start and end date of said campaign, and then you're going to come down here using this giver search box, entering their pledge amount and what their frequency is going to be. You have several different options for that, and then you simply add each giver to the campaign, and now these people are considered pledgers in the software. So when donations are entered, the software will know if we enter a gift to William Bell, and it goes towards the giving account of general fund, that is going to be money that's going to go towards his total pledged amount. Okay, and that will all show up on donation statements as well when those are printed. All right, so that's pledges quickly at a glance. Now let's talk about entering donations. This is really the most important part, along with generating reports, of the donations module. So I do want to take a moment to quickly walk through this screen and how to enter donations. First, most important thing is going to be the donation date. This is going to be the date those people have made their gift. Batch codes, if you choose to group your donations by a batch, you can do that. This is really helpful, say if you have 3 different worship services on one day and you want to separate out the giving that came from each of those worship services, you can simply choose a batch code. It's also handy if you do online giving. If you import from Vanco or any other company and you want to keep those gifts in a separate batch than your regular Sunday offering, you can also create an online giving batch code to be utilized as well. Your giver here, this is who's making the donation. Again, this is all of your givers, whether they're donations givers or givers from membership. You'll select them. How much they gave, you'll put here. Actually, let's do the bells. That way you can see their pledge. We'll do $100. Put in their check or payment method here. If you choose check, you have to put in a check or reference number. This is the option for comments. One thing I do want to point out, these little switches, they're actually supposed to be little light switches. So if you click on them, they turn the field below on or off. So I get a couple support calls a month. People are like, my field's grayed out. And it's usually because that little light switch gets bumped and turned off. So make sure those are on or off depending on what you need. And then down here at the bottom, we can see right here, because we chose Bill Bell, General Fund popped up and it says current. So we know he currently has a pledge to General Fund. We're putting in $100. You can add line item comments to this specific item if you wish. And then hit Done, Add to Batch. That adds this gift down at the bottom here, and your cursor's already back up in the giver box for you to start entering your next giver. All right. Edit, remove, make changes to anything you've put in. You have a print button if you want to get an unposted batch report, so printing before you post. You can save the batch. I know my mom working in a church office growing up, she was interrupted constantly with people coming and going. So save batch is always an important thing to use. If you have to step away, close out of the software, you come back in, you'll be able to continue working on this batch. Here's your post, and then post and transfer. If everything looks good, you can post it and then start the transfer process over to accounting by clicking this. And so enter donations too, one of the nice things, using tab or enter on your keyboard, you can use the enter donations only with your keyboard, which is a nice option for not having to jump back and forth between, oh, I need to click my mouse here and then I need to go back to the keyboard. So using that tab keys will save you some time as well. All right, let's clear this out and let's go talk about browse donations. So right here in the middle is browse. This is all of the donations that you have put in so far. Everything is going to be able to be seen here, okay? So by default, browse, looking at this date range here, is going to show you the giving for the current period. You do have the option to come into this change dates, filter, and sort button. You can go back right here to previous years. So if you're used to the old contributions module where you actually had to change the year back, you no longer have to do that with donations. Depending on which screen you're in, it's always going to default to current, but there's going to be a date picker, or you can then go back to whatever time frame you're looking for. Several different options here. We have lots of webinars on how to use these different tabs, but you can go through and really customize this screen to show the specific information that your church or organization needs. Okay. Another really important thing here about browse is that you have the option to make changes. So we're all human. We all make mistakes, whether we'd like to admit it or not, but the browse screen is where you go in and you can fix those. So if you find gosh, I put in this donation and it should only be for $20 and it needs to be for a different giving account. You can simply hit the correct button. It's going to open up a screen very similar to enter donations. Come in here, make whatever changes you need to, and then simply save. You can change the giver. Say you put it on the wrong person. You can put it on the wrong date. Anything in here is changeable. This is where you make that correction and then do your save or your save and transfer depending on what you changed. Okay. You also have a reverse button. So if you find you put something in and it's just wrong, you just need to take it out. Simply highlight the transaction just like you would if you were correcting it, but then come up here to reverse an NSF. NSF stands for non-sufficient funds. So for whatever your reason might be for reversing it, we recommend reversing it for the date occurred. Here's a place to put comments. And again, you can either do an OK and transfer. If you know that money's in accounting, it needs to come out, or you can just do an OK, meaning you just taking it out of donations, and then you might need to handle it differently over in accounting. Say maybe it's from a couple months ago or something like that. You might need to make a separate adjustment. Permanently reverse, we're going to say yes. Original transaction number, new transaction number. There you go. Now, a couple other things I want to talk about here, so we've got a couple more minutes. Donation statements. Donation statements are, again, one of the most important things you're going to want to pull out of the software based on entering all the giving. This is where you're going to generate those statements you're going to hand out to your givers to show what they've given to the church. By default, when you come into this screen, it's only going to pull people that have giving within the date range specified. Okay, so if I were to just hit next here, I'm only going to get people that made a donation in this date range. That's how this screen's designed or filtered to work. If you find you have other criteria that you want to use, say you want to change it up a little bit, say you want to have everybody regardless of if they've given, or say you want to have people who've only given to a particular pledge account, you can do all of that filtering here on step 1. Again, not going to have time to go into that detail today, but if you go out to our website, just go to the support center, search donation statements. I've done a bunch of webinars on different criteria for how to pull out the people that you need. Okay, so if we simply hit next, step 2 is going to load with all of those people that meet our criteria. Eventually, here we go. And then up at the top, you have your statement layout. So you're going to have some templates in here that we've designed for you that you can choose. You can use the default one, or if you find you want to make some changes to it, you can hit the statement designer. Again, we have some good webinars on using the designer, but you can go in and really customize your statement. I've seen some gorgeous statements where people go in, they change the font, spice it up a little bit, they'll put their church logo on it, really make them look really nice. But you can do all of that here in the statement designer. If you look over here on the left-hand side, there's an email column. You do have the option to email donation statements. So a lot of churches I talk to who utilize the emailing feature, they like to send one out at the end of each quarter so people can see where they are and make sure the numbers are matching what they have. That is a really useful tool for the end of the year or January, whenever you start to send out their year-end statements, instead of getting a bunch of calls where people are like, my statement's so wrong. If you take the time and just shoot out the emails, it's free, and that allows people to kind of keep on top of their giving to make sure what the church has and what they think their giving is in line. So it'll save you, hopefully save you some legwork at the end of the year. But if we print these, just give you a quick idea of what our template windowed envelope looks like. Pretty basic. You have 3 sections. This is the detail section, so every gift they've given is listed here. Account summary section is listed here. So this is going to be each giving account they've given to. Pledge accounts have the parentheses after, and then along with their giving information here. Down at the lower half of the screen, we have quarterly and monthly totals. Any of these three sections you can turn off if you don't like them. You can hide them. The statement down at the bottom is customizable. A lot of churches like to put in a look things over. If you have questions, contact so-and-so. Here's their phone number, what have you. But this is just, again, sample. This is our template. You can come in here and change whatever you like. All right, one more thing I want to show you just because I think it's been important this last year and a half. Up here at the top under donations, import donations. A lot of churches with the past year and a half have gone to an online giving platform. If you have done that or if you're interested in doing that, we have the ability to import text files from these different companies here. And then specifically Vanco, who we are partners with, you can connect up to Vanco server where people give through to Vanco and pull that data into church windows that way as well. If you're looking at a company that's not one of these listed, you can do a text file import as well. So if you're talking to somebody who's not on here and you want to know if it's compatible, give us a call at support and we'll ask you to get an example or a test text file from them just so we can make sure that you can import it into our software. We are happy to take the time to double check it before you decide to go with a company if that's important to you to be able to import it. If it doesn't work, you can still enter the donations manually. Of course, you don't have to use the import option, but it does save some time if that's something of interest. All right. That is everything that I wanted to go over with you today in regards to a donations overview webinar.